Since 1950, the FBI's Most Wanted list has been the ultimate tool for hunting down the country's most dangerous criminals. As of November last year, 532 criminals have been featured, and an impressive 494 have been captured or located, thanks largely to public tips. That's over 93% of the total. And with rewards starting at $250,000, these fugitives are not just dangerous, they're highly sought after. Today we'll take a closer look at the updated names on the list and why they've earned a spot among the most wanted. Starting with the most ironic names to ever land on the FBI's Most Wanted list, Vitel Homme Innocent. Despite his last name meaning innocent, his actions are anything but. His mugshot on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list shows a man who seems wild and dangerous, eyes wide and teeth bared. It's the kind of photo you might expect from a gang leader accused of wreaking havoc on an entire nation, someone who claims to be under divine protection and now has a massive $2 million bounty on his head for numerous kidnappings. In contrast, those who have met him in person describe Innocent as someone who presents a completely different image to his guests. He's powerful, no doubt, always surrounded by heavily armed men ready to act at his slightest command. Yet at the same time, he tries to appear welcoming, offering sandwiches from a cooler to visitors and engaging in deep philosophical conversations. This strange mix of terror and charm defines Innocent's leadership over one of Haiti's most feared gangs, Crypto Barriere, which practically means breaking barriers. In October 2021, Innocent made international headlines when he worked with the infamous 400 Mawozo gang to orchestrate the kidnapping of 17 Christian missionaries in Haiti. Among the hostages were 5 children, one of them just 8 months old. Held at gunpoint, the group was kept in captivity for 2 months while the gangs demanded $1 million per hostage. The situation only ended when an anonymous donor paid a ransom to the gang. It's reported that Innocent and his crew immediately spent that money on weapons to strengthen their forces. Innocent's influence in Haiti grew even more after the 2021 assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse. The chaos that followed gave Innocent and his gang the opportunity to seize more territory and recruit new members. By 2023, Crypto Barriere had grown to about 600 members, many of whom were kids forced into their ranks. And Innocent's reign of terror didn't stop there. Just a year after the infamous missionary kidnappings, his crew snagged 2 U.S. citizens, Marie Odette Franklin and Jean Franklin. Unfortunately, one of them didn't make it out alive, while the other was held for a hefty ransom of $300,000. Then, on November 15, 2023, Innocent made headlines again when he was added to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list, taking over the spot from Michael James Pratt, a pornographer caught for some truly awful crimes back in 2022. But even with all that attention, Innocent managed to slip through the cracks. Fast forward to April 2024, and he popped up in a CNN interview, showing off his extravagant lifestyle like it was no big deal. His fancy home, decked out with gold-trimmed furniture, was a shocking sight against the backdrop of the extreme poverty around him. In the interview, Innocent pointed fingers at corrupt politicians for Haiti's problems, refusing to take any blame for his own violent actions. He even claimed that before he became a gang leader, he ran some legit businesses, a hotel and a car rental company that he said were wrecked by the government.
Do you have regular communications with, as you say, the other armed groups?
Yes, we're united, he tells me. The gangs have formed a coalition known as Vivre Ensemble, or Living Together, and collectively they push back on foreign intervention, holding tight their grips over a fractured state, some using terror tactics like kidnapping, rape, and murder to sustain control.
Is that something you've participated in ordering your men and women to kidnap?
He says he hopes to defend himself in court against those allegations.
Now, if you're wondering why he wasn't arrested during the interview, it's because the interview was conducted in a controlled environment with the consent of the network and law enforcement agencies. The main goal of the interview was to gather information and raise public awareness about his activities and the crimes he's accused of. Arresting him during the interview could have also posed serious risks, including potential harm to the interview team and the chance of him escaping custody. Law enforcement likely preferred to conduct a thorough investigation and plan a safer, more strategic operation to bring him in. And with his powerful connections and an armed gang backing him up, it's very unlikely that he will be arrested anytime soon. Next up is one of the longest-running fugitives on the list, Alexis Flores. He was added as the 487th fugitive to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list on June 2, 2007. This guy has been on the run since the early 2000s, and the FBI is hoping that putting him on this list will speed up his capture. Born on July 18, 1975, in Honduras, Flores has a bit of a sketchy history when it comes to his date of birth. He's reportedly used dates ranging from 1975 to 1982. Additionally, he sustained a neck injury during Hurricane Mitch back in 1998, leaving him with a noticeable surgical scar. Now, here's where the story takes a heartbreaking turn. On a seemingly ordinary afternoon in July 2000, 5-year-old Iriana de Jesus was playing outside with her sister and friends, just like any other day. Her mother, thinking it would be a quick errand, left Iriana playing for a brief trip to the store. But when she returned, her world shattered. Iriana was gone, snatched by a stranger in broad daylight. It was every parent's worst nightmare come to life. Panic set in immediately, and Iriana's disappearance triggered a citywide search across Philadelphia. Her family and the community rallied, covering every inch of the neighborhood with flyers, missing posters, and pleas for help. Weeks passed, and the hope of finding her alive began to fade. Sadly, that hope was crushed when police made a devastating discovery. Iriana's lifeless body was found in the basement of an abandoned apartment building just blocks away from where she had been taken. The horror didn't stop there. Authorities found a crucial piece of evidence at the crime scene, a T-shirt with a bold political logo, believed to have been worn by the suspect. This clue sparked a flicker of hope in the investigation. A man came forward identifying the shirt as belonging to a drifter he knew only as Carlos, a handyman he had once employed. Carlos had vanished shortly after Iriana's abduction, raising suspicions that he was involved. Despite this lead, the case frustratingly went cold, leaving Iriana's family devastated and without closure for years. It wasn't until 2007 when advances in DNA technology allowed investigators to re-examine the evidence that a breakthrough finally occurred. The DNA found on the T-shirt wasn't just a match. It pointed directly to a man named Alexis Flores. Flores had a criminal history and had been arrested in Arizona for shoplifting in 2002 and forgery in 2004. The authorities realized that the drifter known as Carlos was none other than Alexis Flores, the same man who had brutally murdered little Iriana. But by the time law enforcement had connected the dots, Flores had already been deported to Honduras years earlier, following his release from prison for lesser charges. The delay in linking him to the crime gave him a head start, making his capture far more complicated than the authorities had anticipated. What makes this case even more frustrating is Flores's ability to evade capture for so long. Throughout his criminal career, he used multiple aliases, lied about his birth date, and even altered his appearance to throw off investigators. Despite being added to the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list, where he remains to this day, tracking him down has proven incredibly difficult. Flores is described as standing about 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighing around 130 pounds, with distinguishing scars on his forehead, right cheek, and neck from a surgery we mentioned earlier. He's also believed to have connections in Honduras and other parts of Central America, where he's likely hiding. Adding to the frustration is the fact that a $4 million reward has been placed on his head for information leading to his arrest, yet despite the financial incentive, no credible leads have surfaced. 24 years after Iriana's abduction and murder, Alexis Flores remains a ghost, slipping through the cracks and avoiding justice. Moving on the list, we come to a name that sends shivers down the spine of investors everywhere, Ruja Ignatova. She's the 11th woman to snag a spot on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list, and she's notorious for her role as the so-called Crypto Queen. Her story is a thrilling ride through deception and ambition, marked by one of the biggest financial scams in history. Let's rewind to 2016. Ruja, a Bulgarian entrepreneur, stepped onto the stage at the CoinRush Global event in Wembley, London, radiating confidence and flair in a striking red dress. With a captivating presence, she unveiled her ambitious vision for OneCoin, her crypto company.
But what makes us different from all the Mickey Mouse coins out there who copy our concept? And I'll tell you what makes us different. I believe what makes us different is our vision. We are more than just one coin.
She boldly proclaimed that in just 2 years, the world would forget all about Bitcoin, claiming OneCoin would reign supreme as the one true cryptocurrency. Can you imagine the applause? Investors, enthralled by her charisma and promises, flocked to her vision, blissfully unaware they were stepping into a financial minefield. Over the next few years, Ruja made big promises to many people. She told investors they could make 5 or even 10 times their money if they bought OneCoin. Normally, these kinds of promises would raise alarms for anyone who knows about investing. But during this time, everyone wanted to jump into the cryptocurrency trend. So many investors jumped in without thinking twice. Between 2014 and 2016, OneCoin raked in an unbelievable $4 billion from unsuspecting people, with more than $50 million coming from investors in the United States alone. But here's the catch. OneCoin was really a pyramid scheme. Investors were not just buying coins, they were also told to get their friends to buy OneCoin too. At first, this shady business model seemed to work for Ruja, but soon enough, many investors started to realize that they were having a tough time selling their OneCoins and didn't see a way to get their money back. People began to share their concerns online, and word spread that OneCoin might be a scam. This caught the attention of the media and federal investigators. Things got serious when Ruja suddenly vanished. In late 2016, just months after her big presentation, she boarded a flight from Bulgaria to Greece and disappeared without a trace. While investigators were looking into the case, some very alarming emails written by Ruja were leaked. These emails showed that she knew she was tricking people from the start. In them, she admitted that OneCoin wasn't actually mining any real cryptocurrency. She even called her own coin trash and described her investors as idiots for trusting her. One email revealed a shocking plan where she suggested to her partner, Carl Greenwood, that they take the money, run away, and blame someone else for the scam. While Ruja planned her escape, Greenwood faced the music. He pleaded guilty to charges of wire fraud and conspiracy to launder money, earning himself a 20-year prison sentence. It later came out that the FBI had been investigating Ruja for a while before she left. They had even gotten her American boyfriend to help them gather information about her company's shady practices. After learning about Ruja's scam, she was charged with wire fraud, money laundering, and securities fraud. Now, let's look into Ruja's backstory for a second. It's fascinating and a bit mind-boggling. She's not just some random scammer. This woman is incredibly intelligent and articulate. Fluent in 4 languages, she once worked for a high-ranking consulting firm and had a passion for fashion and maintaining a glamorous image. These qualities, instead of being used for good, were twisted to execute her grand scheme of deception. Since her disappearance, there have been whispers and rumors about her fate. Some suggest she might have drastically altered her appearance with plastic surgery, and that she travels with armed guards. There are even unsettling rumors that she may have been murdered by an accomplice, but that remains unconfirmed. If Ruja is still out there, the FBI suspects she might be using a German passport to navigate through countries like the United Arab Emirates, Bulgaria, Germany, Russia, Greece, and various Eastern European nations. Given how elusive she's been for nearly 8 years now, it seems like finding her would be akin to searching for a needle in a haystack. The Crypto Queen pulled off one of the largest financial scams in history, and the mystery surrounding her disappearance only adds to the intrigue. By the way, I post true crime and new cases here every day, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing. It helps a lot. Next on the list is a man that might surprise you, Omar Alexander Cardman. If you thought this guy couldn't run a mile, think again. Omar has been on the run for his alleged involvement in a shocking murder outside a barbershop in Los Angeles, California, back in the summer of 2019. On August 15th of that year, the FBI released some eerie footage that shows Omar walking into a shopping mall area. In the before and after clips, he seems like any other person just going about their day. But once he disappears from view, things take a dark turn. In a matter of moments, Omar approached a man standing outside the Hair Icon barbershop and without hesitation fired several rounds from a semi-automatic handgun directly at his head, killing him instantly. This brutal act happened in broad daylight, around 4 p.m., and it was caught on camera. After the crime, Omar didn't stick around. He fled the scene, and the FBI footage shows him running away. It's chilling to think that a person could be so brazen, especially in front of cameras. Omar is believed to have ties to the Pier Street gang in Los Angeles and often goes by the nickname Omar. After the murder, he is thought to have fled to Mexico to hide out with family. In September 2021, federal authorities issued a warrant for his arrest after charging him with murder and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, landing his face on the Most Wanted billboard. Despite the gravity of his actions and the fact that he committed the crime in broad daylight, authorities know surprisingly little about Omar. What they do have is a few key details. He weighs approximately 300 pounds, sports thick prescription glasses, has at least one tattoo, and is considered armed and dangerous. This scant information makes it tough to track down a fugitive who has crossed borders to evade justice. As time passes, there's hope that more leads will come to light, potentially paving the way for Omar's extradition and arrest. For now, it seems that Omar Alexander Cardman will continue to be one of the most wanted criminals, slipping through the fingers of law enforcement and leaving behind a web of questions about how he's managed to stay hidden. Alejandro Rosales Castillo was born on November 26, 1998 in Arizona, and he has been on the run since being placed on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list on October 24, 2017. He's wanted for the tragic murder of Truquan Sandy Lyle in Charlotte, North Carolina in August 2016. At just 17 years old, Alejandro worked at a Showmars restaurant in Charlotte where he crossed paths with Sandy, a 23-year-old co-worker. Their relationship had its ups and downs, including a brief romance. At one point, Sandy lent Alejandro some money, but he never paid her back. Things took a dark turn when Alejandro texted Sandy, saying he wanted to repay her. They agreed to meet at a Quick Trip convenience store on Eastway Drive. So, on August 9, 2016, Sandy showed up at the Quick Trip, but Alejandro had other plans. He was picked up by his new girlfriend, Amia Feaster, who drove him in her red Dodge Caliber to the meeting spot. Instead of paying Sandy back, investigators believe Alejandro forced her to withdraw money from her bank account, possibly threatening her with a gun. Her uncle later revealed that Sandy took out $1,000 from an ATM, after which her bank account was completely drained. After this shocking incident, Alejandro drove Sandy to a secluded wooded area in Cabarrus County. There, he shot her once in the head, ending her life in a senseless act of violence. Tragically, he then dumped her body in a ravine and fled the scene with Feaster in Sandy's black four-door 2003 Toyota Corolla. The aftermath of this crime was chilling. Alejandro and Feaster made their way from North Carolina to Phoenix, Arizona, where they abandoned Sandy's car at a bus shelter. This car was later discovered on August 15th. Surveillance footage captured images of Alejandro crossing the border into Mexico, and since then he has vanished without a trace. In November of that year, Alejandro was charged with first-degree murder, and in February of the following year, he faced additional charges for fleeing to avoid prosecution. Feaster eventually turned herself in to authorities in Aguascalientes, Mexico, on October 20, 2016. After cooperating with U.S. officials, she was extradited back to the States on October 22nd. She faced charges of being an accessory after the fact to felony murder and larceny of a motor vehicle. Despite this, she managed to post bond and was released on January 18, 2017. Feaster revealed that she and Alejandro had been staying with his cousins in Mexico. However, after 2 months, Alejandro mysteriously disappeared again, leaving authorities puzzled. Today, Alejandro Rosales Castillo remains at large, still one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives. His case was featured on the February 26, 2024 episode of America's Most Wanted, keeping the search for him alive. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $250,000 for any information that could lead to his capture, making it clear that they won't give up on finding him anytime soon. Next, let's talk about Arnoldo Jimenez, a name that has been associated with a shocking crime that still haunts many. Born on February 19, 1982, Arnoldo made headlines when he landed on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list on May 8, 2019. He is wanted for the brutal murder of his wife, Estrella Carrera, just 1 day after their wedding in May 2012. Estrella was found lifeless in a bathtub at her apartment in Burbank, Illinois, wearing the same silver dress she wore on her wedding day. The couple tied the knot on May 11, 2012, at Chicago City Hall. Estrella had 2 children, including a 9-year-old daughter from a previous relationship and a 2-year-old son with Arnoldo. After their wedding, they celebrated with family and friends and later hit a nightclub, leaving around 4 a.m. on May 12th. Tragically, it's believed that during the drive home, a heated argument erupted between them in Arnoldo's black 2006 four-door Maserati. In a fit of rage, he allegedly stabbed Estrella multiple times inside the car before dragging her body into her apartment. Her body was discovered in the bathtub the next day, and it quickly became clear something was terribly wrong when Estrella failed to pick up her children as planned. Her family reported her missing, and by the afternoon of May 13th, police found her lifeless body in the apartment, confirming no signs of forced entry. Meanwhile, Arnoldo had vanished, and his car was nowhere in sight. On May 15th, just 3 days after the murder, Arnoldo was charged with first-degree murder, and a state warrant was issued for his arrest. A federal warrant followed shortly after, charging him with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. As investigators pieced together the timeline, they tracked Arnoldo's cell phone activity. On May 12th, he was in Chicago, then Southern Illinois, and later it pinged in Memphis, Tennessee, and Arkansas. By May 13th, he made calls from Houston, eventually ending up in Hidalgo, Mexico. After that, he seemed to disappear completely, becoming what the FBI calls a ghost. In September 2012, police made a significant discovery while arresting Arnoldo's brother, Humberto, on drug charges. While searching his property, they found Arnoldo's black Maserati, and blood was discovered inside, confirming suspicions about the crime. Investigators believe that Humberto helped Arnoldo flee to Mexico, leaving him there before returning to the U.S. alone. Today, the FBI believes Arnoldo is hiding out in Durango, Mexico, particularly around Santiago Papasquiaro, or possibly in Reynosa, Tamaulipas. The FBI is offering a reward of up to $250,000 for any information leading to his capture. And if Arnoldo Jimenez is ever captured, he'll face the harsh reality of spending the rest of his life behind bars for first-degree murder and unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. However, given the way things have unfolded since he was last spotted, it seems unlikely that he will ever face justice for his horrific crime. Next is Yulan Adonai Archaga Karias, the elusive kingpin of MS-13. Back in the 1980s, a gang known as Mara Salvatrucha, or MS-13 for short, was formed to protect Salvadoran immigrants from other gangs in Los Angeles. Fast forward a few decades, and the Mara has transformed into one of the most brutal and violent criminal organizations in the world. Today, MS-13 has a significant presence not only in El Salvador, but also in Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, the United States, Canada, and even Spain. Their criminal activities include drug trafficking, human trafficking, extortion, murder, and racketeering, often employing extreme violence to maintain their grip on power. For many years, Yulan Adonai Archaga Karias, known by his street name Porky, was a major player in MS-13's operations in Honduras. He was responsible for providing the gang with resources and support, including firearms, drugs, and cash. Porky is wanted by the FBI for trafficking multi-ton loads of drugs through Honduras to the United States and for the killings of several rival gang members. And his criminal record is extensive, including charges ranging from murder to racketeering and conspiracy to drug importation, along with possession of machine guns. Despite weighing only around 160 pounds, Yulan has earned a reputation as one of the most powerful figures in Honduras, as MS-13 has held the country in a relentless chokehold for years. One of the most shocking chapters in Porky's story occurred when he was apprehended by Honduran authorities and taken to court for allegedly murdering 2 prosecutors. During his hearing, a group of 20 armed men dressed in anti-gang police uniforms stormed the courthouse. In a violent display, they opened fire on the guards, swiftly subduing them and successfully escorting Porky out of the building, resulting in the deaths of 4 police officers. This daring escape has solidified his status as armed and extremely dangerous. Because of his heinous crimes, the FBI is offering a staggering $5 million reward for information leading to his capture. What makes tracking down a fugitive like Porky particularly challenging is his ability to fly under the radar. Though believed to still be in Honduras, he uses untraceable phone numbers from Israel and Poland to communicate and takes extensive measures to conceal his whereabouts from authorities. While the search for Porky is far from over, he is likely to remain one of the most elusive and dangerous fugitives on the FBI's most wanted list for years to come. Wilver Villegas Palomino has become notorious for his crimes. He became the 530th addition to the FBI's most wanted list due to multiple serious charges, including narco-terrorism, murder, and drug trafficking. Often going by the nickname The Hog, Palomino is a high-ranking member of the National Liberation Army. He has been involved in a shocking 2-decade-long conspiracy to smuggle drugs from Colombia into the United States. A warrant for his arrest was issued back in 2020, highlighting the severity of his actions. Wilver's criminal history is chilling. He is accused of being involved in the murders of several human rights advocates in Venezuela and the Catatumbo region of Colombia between 2017 and 2019. His position within the ELN allows him significant power and influence, making him responsible for flooding major U.S. cities, including Houston, with dangerous drugs. Due to his involvement in such violent activities, the United States Department of State's Narcotics Rewards Program has put a staggering reward of up to $5 million for anyone who can provide information leading to Palomino's arrest. As of today, no one knows where he is hiding. It's believed that the ELN controls the production of over 200 tons of drugs, which are then distributed across the globe, including into the United States. This immense drug trafficking operation is part of the reason why he was placed on the FBI's most wanted list. The sheer scale of his criminal operations raises serious concerns for communities everywhere. Now let's turn our attention to Donald Eugene Fields II, another individual on the FBI's radar. Since 2022, Fields has been wanted for some horrifying allegations involving child trafficking. According to authorities, between 2013 and 2017, Fields took a 14-year-old girl and offered her to his friend, Ted Sartori Jr. In exchange, he received cash, cars, motorcycles, vacations, and even Christmas presents. This shocking crime paints a disturbing picture of exploitation and abuse. Fields was last known to live in Franklin County, Missouri, but reports suggest that he has been on the move across the country since 2022. He's been taking on various jobs, working as a tree trimmer and selling used cars to avoid detection by law enforcement. It's alarming to think that he might still be out there, possibly taking more victims. According to court documents, there are suspicions that Donald may have taken more than one victim. He might even be hiding out with his girlfriend, Jennifer Griggs, who is also wanted for failing to pay child support. The authorities have received several tips that suggest Fields spent some time in the Tampa area. Once the police got this information, they started running Facebook ads featuring his face on a Most Wanted poster, hoping that someone would recognize him and report his whereabouts. Unfortunately, it seems that Fields had already slipped away to South Missouri by that time. To further the search for Fields, the FBI has set up large billboards in cities where he is known to travel. Despite these efforts, it appears he is still managing to evade capture. Earlier this year, in 2024, Sartori, who was Fields' accomplice, pleaded guilty to his charges. He could face up to 30 years in prison and may also need to pay $225,000 in restitution to his victim. His sentencing is scheduled for early November 2024, and this could mean even more consequences for the crimes they committed. In the FBI's description of Donald Fields, they note that he has several scars on his body, as well as a tribal print tattoo on his right shoulder. With such a big effort being made to track him down, it's hoped that one day someone will recognize him and report him to the authorities. For now, law enforcement is urging the public to consider him armed and dangerous. Lastly, let's delve into the chilling case of Bhadresh Kumar Chetanbhai Patel, a man whose actions shocked many and left a community in horror. On April 12, 2015, a CCTV camera captured a disturbing scene at a Dunkin' Donuts shop. At around 9:30 p.m., the footage showed two employees, a male and a female, walking toward the shop's back room. Just moments later, they disappeared from view. A few seconds passed, and the man returned to the camera's view, appearing calm as if nothing unusual had occurred during those few brief minutes. However, this calm facade was shattered a short while later when customers alerted the police. They noticed the unusual absence of employees in the shop, prompting a call for help. When the authorities arrived, they made a horrifying discovery. Lying on the floor of the back room was an Indian woman named Palak, lifeless and brutally murdered. The investigation revealed that she had been pummeled to death by the man in the footage, her husband, Bhadresh Kumar Chetanbhai Patel. As authorities looked into the couple's background, they uncovered a troubling history of intense arguments leading up to that tragic day. Court documents indicated that both of their visas were set to expire in just a few weeks. Palak wished to return to India, but Bhadresh Kumar wanted to stay in the United States. This significant conflict boiled over, and in a moment of rage and frustration, he committed the unthinkable act of taking his wife's life. After committing the crime, Bhadresh Kumar was last seen taking a taxi from a hotel in New Jersey to a train station in Newark. What he did next remains a mystery, as he seemingly vanished without a trace. To ensure this dangerous suspect did not slip through the cracks, the FBI placed him on their Most Wanted list. As of today, there is a reward of $250,000 for information leading to his capture. However, almost 10 years after this horrific crime, it appears that bringing him to justice will not be an easy task. Many people suspect that Bhadresh Kumar may have returned to India, where he could be living freely while evading the law. And it's anyone's guess where these 10 dangerous fugitives from the FBI's Most Wanted list are hiding. It's also unsettling to think that some might even be blending into society, hoping to escape justice forever. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Which case stood out to you the most and why? Share your insights in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime updates. Thank you once again for watching.